right, this is a review of what we did yesterday, okay? You should be understanding this, and I've already set up one problem that I want to do. The problem itself is right here. It's 13 divided into 5,278, okay? The first thing that I'm going to figure out, this is what, Cece, you had that one question that was from mental math, or it was the blue binder, okay? Where you have to figure out where does the first digit go. And that's going to tell you how many of these columns you're going to have, okay? I know that 13 doesn't go into 5, but I know 13 goes into 52. So it's going to start, I'm going to start with the 100 spot. That's where I'm starting at, okay? So I know that with the hundreds, I'm going to have 3 digits in my answer. Does everyone understand that? Okay? Now, 13 goes into 52 4 times. And I'm going to make the rest of these zeros because I'm going to take this answer and move it on over. 13 times 4 is, wow, 52. I get 0. So I'm bringing over the 0, 7, 8. Now, does 13 go into 7?
No.
No, it doesn't. So 0 times 13 is 0. I bring down the 7, then I bring down the 8, and I bring this over here. So up here I got zeros, right? 78, 13 goes into 78 6 times. 6 times that, 78. It's like I told you yesterday, all these, there's no remainders. So you end up with 0. Now, all that you do now is you add 400 plus 0 plus 6 should equal 406. Now, if I were to do this the long way, just straight down, I would have 13 going into 5, 2, 7, 8. And this is what it's going to look like for the rest of the chapter. 13, it doesn't go into 5. 13 goes into 52 4 times. 4 times 13 is 52. Subtract, I get 0. Okay? This is this. Okay? Now I'm going to bring down, let's see, bring down the 7. 13 goes into 7 0 times. 0 times 13 is 0. Subtract, I get 7.
Bring down the 8.
This part here is this part. Okay? Now I bring down the 8. 13 goes into 78 6 times. 6 times 13 is 78. Subtract, I get 0. This is this part. This is your ones. This is your tens. And this was your hundreds. Okay? Now, you had some parts of this yesterday. That they left blank. Well, they didn't really. They put a question mark in there. And you had to find out what the question mark was. Basically, it's whatever this is times this is going to equal this. So in other words, 4 times 13 equals 52. So if this 4 wasn't there, how could you figure it out? Divide 13 into 52. How many times does it go? Okay, 4 times. Over here, this was a 0. Okay? they had it set up where they didn't have the hundreds, the tens, and the ones. I've added that so that you can hopefully better understand it. But what you're adding is the 400, the 0, and the 6. And it equals 406. They had that. Okay? 406 is your answer. Okay?
Instead of, for the tens, instead of putting like the zeros, can you just do like 13 goes into 78?
No. Because if you did that, you would end up with 6 here, and you'd end up with like 46 possibly. People would mess up with it. Okay? Because this is the tens area. You need to have, if you did, you'd have to do 0, 6. And then you would add 400 plus 0, 6. But this is the tens on this. Here, what you're saying is to skip right through this. When you skip right through this, you're skipping over that 0. And that 0 is important in this one. The 0 in the front, that doesn't matter. Okay? But in between the digits, it needs to be there. Otherwise, you end up with 46 or 460. Okay? And that's, both of those are going to be wrong. Okay? I understand what you're saying, but you can't skip it. Ryan?
Can you, like, for 13 divided by 5,278, can you only go to the 2 in that, or can you go farther, like to the 7 and the 8?
You had one yesterday where you went farther. You had one yesterday where it was 1,360. I think it was divided by, is that the right one? It was divided by 16. Okay? And I think this is what you're asking. But 13 or 16 doesn't go into 1. It doesn't go into 13. So the first one that it's going to go into is going to be 136.
Then why didn't you do it for the 76? Why did you do 0 in that problem? In the tens.
Because I'd already started into it. This was the hundreds place. You have to have this number in the hundreds place. Okay? There has to be a 0 in the tens place. And there has to be a 6 over here in the ones.
Can't you just do like 06 in the tens instead of doing the ones?
No. When you divide this out, you can't just skip over this part here. Even when you do it this way, you can't skip this. You can't sit and say, well, 13 goes into 78, because you'll end up putting the 6 here because you don't have a digit there. Okay? But with this one, I think it came out to 80, and it was 128, I think. And then 5. You had 2 digits. Even though you started with a 4-digit number, you can move all the way over to the tens to start. Okay? Today's work is basically doing these. And it's where I'm trying to show you that it's like what you did with multiplication and partial products. Because basically you're taking partial quotient. This is part of it, this is part of it, this is part of it. When you do your work and I go back and you're sitting there going, well, I got this as the answer. That's where I go back and look, did you multiply right? Did you subtract right? Okay, I go back into each one because one mistake in there will throw the whole problem off. Because if you say 4 times 13 is 50, you've messed up the whole problem. One kid in the other class, he's got it stuck in his head, he can't get it out. But he has 3 times 9 is 18. And that's 2 times 9. And he keeps getting it stuck in there. And so each time he either has a 3 up top, but then when he subtracts, he's got 18 that he's taking, and he ends up with a big number. And that's where one mistake messes it up. Here you have 13 going into 52, that's one problem. 4 times 13 is 52, that's 2 problems. Right here you subtract, that's 3 problems. That's 3 problems just in one. So you've got 3, 6, 9 that you're doing to get one answer. 9 math problems to get one answer. You mess up on one, the whole thing's wrong. Okay? That's why it's important to know your facts. Austin over here was saying that the way he checks it is you take the quotient times the divisor, and you should equal the dividend. So in other words, for this one, 13 times 406 should equal 5278 if you were to multiply it. That's the way you should double check it. Okay? Any questions over this? All that it is taking a division and just breaking it into parts. Okay? And they move the parts across. You have 2 IXLs to do, D12 and D22 that go with this. And you have the workbook pages 59 and 60. I don't think it's that many problems.
It's 9.
59, you got a grand total of 2 problems. Okay?
What?
And then on 60, I think you have a total of 7.
Wow.
So altogether,
that's so much.
9 problems.
Wow, can I do that, Mr. Ray?
Now go ahead.